Hello and welcome back to our final week of the Symphony of Psalms podcast series produced by Powell United Methodist Church. My name is Rachel Parfanchuk. I am Director of Music Ministries.
And I'm Kim LaRue, Director of Adult Ministries. And Rachel, it's been fun to do this. I just want to say that. And today we're finishing up Bernstein's Chichester Psalms, and this is the third and final movement of his work. Really cool. We're going to have some cool stuff to tell you about this, but I hope you've enjoyed the series and make sure that you've listened to the works. We've given you the links each time. So we're going to start this movement. Bernstein used two psalms again to sit side by side. The first one he used was Psalm 131. And let me read it and then I'll comment on it here in a minute. Lord, Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor mine eyes lofty. Neither do I exercise myself in great matters or in things too wonderful for me to understand. Surely I have calmed and quieted myself as a child that is weaned of his mother. My soul is even as a weaned child. Let Israel hope in the Lord from henceforth and forever. This psalm speaks to me of humility. There's we've come through this great series of psalms here in the Chichester Psalms, and this, I feel like this psalmist has come to a place of being humble, of realizing that they don't have everything under their own control, that there are things that happen that they can't do anything about, and yet God is always there. And so you end up with a posture of humility, I think, when you finally come to that realization that you don't control everything, that the world does not revolve around you, and that you have to rely on God, because God is the only one that can sometimes bring peace to your heart. He then follows that up, Bernstein does, with Psalm 133, a very small piece of it, just verse 1. And this is what that says. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. So again, I think that you can only come to a place of unity when you've come to a place of humility, that you aren't in charge of everything, that there are other things that can come into play to make a solution that might work better than what I would have come up with on my own. And so I love how he's ended this with this idea of humility moving into unity, and musically it does exactly the same thing, of course.
Yeah, so this is a perfect segue into talking about some of the different musical ideas that complement this text. So this third movement starts right away with opening with the same chords as the beginning did, although with a slightly different feel to it. The way the first movement opened, it was like an interruption, like, here I am. And this third movement, it had much more of, it's more beautiful and just a little more musical, I would say, is the way softer these chords open the beginning of this third movement. So we're already kind of hearkening back to the beginning. Then as this opening section, it's instrumental for like 3 minutes almost, before the choir comes in.
Beautiful. And,
as we hear those different harmonies, the trumpet, you hear, recaps just a small section of the boy soprano melody from movement 2, which we talked about last week. So we've got these recaps, these beautiful sounds, and then we finally go into the choral section, which is in another asymmetrical meter, but it's not quite as dancey. And it's in 10/4, which is a whole big headache to count out. But
in Hebrew, no less.
Right, in Hebrew, exactly. So we've got this calm sense, this beautiful melody, but in a different way from the way Psalm 23 was set. And then we move into this final section after that where, the motives are coming back to create a sense of returning to the beginning. And then all of the instruments drop out and it's just the voices. We get this a cappella section where, they're singing Psalm 133. And to talk about for brethren to dwell together in unity while singing in complete a cappella is just so appropriate, in my opinion. The way the voices come together in unity is so beautiful. And we finish out this piece in a calm manner that, as you hear a lot of the same melodic material kind of weaving throughout, and we get this interval, this open fifth that the singers are singing, and then very softly and subtly at the end, the instruments bring in just a hint of what we call a Picardy third. And what that means is, before that Picardy third comes in, we're not really sure whether or not it's major or minor. It kind of sounds minor, it might be sad, but then there's just one note that comes in and it lifts it up into a major quality harmony, and it represents hope. Love it.
I think another thing that I love about choral singing, especially, probably because I do sing as opposed to playing an instrument. So it may work with instrumentalists also, but especially choral singing, is that when we talk about unity, we're not talking about unison. Unison means we're all singing the same note. No matter what voice part you are, it may be in a different octave, but you're all singing the same note. That's unison. And that means everybody is in perfect agreement about how that note should sound, right? But in choral singing, we make chords. And that's what Rachel's just talking about. This open fifth is a chord. All throughout this whole last section, you hear all kinds of chords that are beautiful. And that means that each part may be singing a different note, but it all works together for a sound. And it doesn't always have to be a major chord. It could be a minor chord. It could be all kinds of different chords. It could be dissonant. It could be not. But the whole point is, the altos didn't get up and leave just because they didn't like the note they were singing and it didn't match what somebody else's note was singing. We all stay together in the chord so that we make music together, which I think is unity, as opposed to saying, well, if you're not going to sing the note I'm singing, I'm going to get up and leave. And I just love that about that. And I love what Bernstein did with this whole last piece to create that idea. First of all, humility. Again, choral singing, you have to have some humility that you're singing with a group of people. You're not a soloist. You are singing together, and so you're making one beautiful sound together. And again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I just think it's a beautiful metaphor for all of that. And then it is hopeful. It is hopeful that we can all sing together, even though we're not all singing the same note.
That's so beautiful, Kim. As you were saying that, I just can't help but think about how I think we've talked in the past. It wasn't always this way. The early church, there was no harmony. It was unison. It was chant. And then, slowly, they allowed certain chords, but only acceptable ones that sounded happy. There were only certain intervals that were allowed. And then as time went on, more and more difference was accepted in the music, and now we have just a huge breadth of different harmonies that are used, but it wasn't always that way. And I think it's such a great metaphor for just the church and just society in general as we move forward. What does unity mean? It doesn't mean being the same. It means taking all of these differences and becoming something together.
Love it.
Yeah, so cool.
I love it. And so this ends our podcast series for the summer of 2023 called A Symphony of Psalms. We've loved doing this together. We'll do another one sometime in the future, but we hope that you've enjoyed it also. Let us know if you did. That's always helpful to know that somebody
But not if you didn't.
Right. It's helpful to know somebody heard it though. And we are just glad that you were with us. And I'm Kim LaRue from Powell United Methodist Church.
And I'm Rachel Parkinchuk. Thank you for joining us.